people are really easy to manipulate nowadays, you know, so and that's scary. And that's all due to media and stuff, you know, and that's why I think the future of Web3 is good, because it's all decentralized. Not going to be any main like networks that control or whatever, you know, like whatever happens. The news is the news.
Welcome to this week's Escape Your Limits podcast. Our guest today started his career as a personal trainer, selling t-shirts from the back of his car, and went on to create a multi-million-dollar fitness brand, Fit Apparel. He returns to our podcast after 3 years to discuss how his business has had to reinvent itself and its audience due to the pandemic. His traditional fitness apparel brand was able to shift and bridge the gap from a physical product company into the metaphysical by generating a totally new revenue stream and marketplace for his business. Today, he shares his personal research on how he has dealt with algorithm changes on social media and content suppression, understanding and staying ahead of the trends of the younger demographic, and how a regular business should start to think about Web 3.0. So please welcome the CEO and founder of Fit Apparel, Mr. Randall Pich.
Randall, thanks for inviting me back. It's been 2018 was the last time last time we interviewed to each other.
Yeah, that's what, like almost 4 years ago at the old location.
Before the world went into chaos.
Yeah, it's like wild. It's like a blur.
Yeah.
You know?
I went back to Europe last week, and I was speaking to a lot of friends and people in businesses, and they kind of fall into two camps. There was the people that just kind of said, right, it's a good time to get out. And then there was the people that had sort of grown massively, you know, almost like forced growth into, they had to develop, you know, growing their businesses personally, learn so many new things. You obviously got through that, and we've been, you know, staying in touch with the period. But how do you think you've had to grow from the person you were in 2018, you know, the entrepreneur, the business owner, to what you've had to become now as a leader?
Well, so I mean, like during the whole pandemic and the whole lockdown and stuff, remember, I think we talked a bit too. It didn't affect us at that moment because we were making masks and providing things that people needed. But then later down the line, like years later, when the supply chain started getting affected, that's when things started hitting us later. Then the shipping rates started going up. Prices just started going up for regular blanks, garments, cut and sew, all that stuff. Then we're like, okay. And then the employee staffing, especially in California, very pro-employee, anti-employer. So we had to deal with laws that were or laws that were thrown at us left and right that we had to comply with, you know, during the pandemic. So that was kind of hard because they were just trying to ding us for any little thing that you did wrong to get a fee, you know, or, you know. So we had to learn to just really do research prior, because you never know if they're going to send an auditor out and, you know, screw you. We had to learn how to be a lot more efficient, because it was, at that time, literally it was hard to hire employees. We've had multiple interviews, and this is like true. We've set up to just hire regular warehouse staff, probably 20 interviews, and only 9 would show up. And then out of that 9 that showed up to the interview, we'd only get 1 that would actually get hired on and work, but then quit, because we realized later that they would be making money off of unemployment. People were working the system, you know, in the wrong, that would have affected us as far as like, we can't even run our business. You know what I mean? Like, people were not milking just the government, but milking us, you know what I mean? The time and money, the effort. So we just decided that, hey, let's just strap down, you know, with my guys, and we need to figure out how we can move this thing efficiently without bottlenecking ourselves. And, you know, if the volume that we can't meet the volume, that's okay for now. You know, let's slowly work our way back up there. But, you know, me and my guys, we strapped down, and then the leadership showed through them who would actually stay or who would actually be down for the cause. And let's work through this, because it's in the long run, like, this is going to pay off, you know? And we sure enough, I mean, we did. And then along the ways, we learned now that we are working efficiently. We don't even have to hire that many more of like hands-on warehouse workers. We're able to ship orders out within the reasonable amount of time and the amount of orders per one person. Just the whole workflow has changed. But during the whole pandemic too, I can go on forever, but like social media has changed as well. Because not only did the pandemic affected us, the algorithm at the same time affected us. And that kind of just went hand in hand, like during that same years. So we just got hit because we're not used to doing paid ads.
Right.
So now it's like, all right, let's set a budget for this that we never put aside for prior,
So what was that? The algorithms changed so that your organic stuff, when you were putting stuff out there, just wasn't getting seen.
Let's put it this way: we have almost 500,000 followers on Instagram, and we can see the analytics because the Live Fit Instagram is categorized as a business, so I can see that analytics versus mine analytics. For Live Fit Apparel, a post, only 1% of our followers see our post. And then ask, do we want to boost this post? I'm like, oh my, it's crazy. So we try to utilize individual people's, like our athletes and stuff pages. But luckily enough, we have a very strong email list. We have roughly 200,000 people subscribe to our email, and the open rate's pretty good. So if we really need to get some revenue or whatever, we would, blast that email out. But yeah, the algorithm screwed us. It's still screwing us, and it's still screwing companies now, That's why, they can get to another topic on this, but shifting out of Instagram, and going on to other different platforms or making our own platform,
Right.
So.
And with that, because I spoke to a few people and they seem to sort of think they were like shadow banned, and and it seemed to happen at a similar time when a lot of the Facebook and Twitters were going in front of the government about they obviously, I can't remember what the big court case was a couple of years ago, but a lot of this stuff seemed to happen then. And my guess is that, without it being sort of said, the government seemed to get their grips onto.
Oh, for sure.
Them and
100%. Like I've even tested some of this stuff too, like we have a lot of pro Second Amendment peeps that like we're in Live Fit and stuff, and we repost. And I swear, I don't know, I could be making this up, but because the AI or whatever they have program can recognize what a gun figure looks like, it will suppress that post, that story, whatever. And I've seen it, like it's crazy. It won't be seen for the last like 24th hour of like the day, if it's on the story. But yeah, so all my friends that have Second Amendment brands, it sucks. Like I feel really bad because not only is like social media suppressing them, the city's suppressing them, the state is suppressing them. It's very hard for them to operate. It's like marijuana times 10. They're just getting taxed, or if not, getting their whole business shut down. It sucks, And
I guess you can't even, some of those posts, you can't even, like we used to do a lot of ads ourselves, but I guess you can't even boost and promote those because they restrict.
It's not even allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to go on their own platform or create their own platform or build an email list, So in a sense, it's like what I've seen is people are throwing more live events now. People are getting together, going outside, and because that's the only true way now to get in front of these people or have a community gathering instead of in the virtual world or interacting on social media, because you can't really do that, because people are afraid to comment or associate with these pages because they might be blackballed or banned,
That's right. Yeah. I read, I heard it yesterday on a podcast. I was listening to someone last night, and apparently it might have even been on the news. Certain people that work in government, they actually get pulled up if they actually like posts as well, because they can see what they like. And sometimes I've gone through that. I'm like, oh, should I like that even if I agree with it? Because maybe somebody's watching me. And
yeah, it's crazy. And for that context alone, you really take yourself outside the box and look at it. It's like, wow, that is pretty wild. Like it's very controlling, manipulating, and like people can't be free thinkers anymore.
No,
it's kind of scary.
You must have heard of. He came up last night. You must have heard of this guy Andrew Tate. Have you seen or heard of him? He must be okay. He's been everywhere, but he was taken down banned off all platforms. He was a mixed martial arts guy. quite outspoken for male rights, and there's a story behind him,
Right.
good or bad. But he's banned off Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, the whole lot. He was taken down. And the thing is, he actually hadn't done anything wrong. It's not like he'd been a criminal, he'd killed anyone or anything like that. He was just very outspoken, and yeah, he was on one of the news programs just talking about the story. But I guess it's crazy that now that even if you don't necessarily do anything wrong, that you're if somebody doesn't like what you're saying, it's over. No matter who you are.
If we said this 5 years ago, we'd be like, "That's crazy. You can think whatever you want, dude." Now it's like, there's some consequences, right? When everything is based on social media, like your business is on there. It's crazy, Yeah, that's like the good and bad of social media right there.
Yeah. Does it make you feel vulnerable? I guess because you were very strong on Instagram. Mm-hmm. I guess that was probably one of your dominant ones. Like now, what are you? What are your options? You've obviously got email. I know you've done some cool events and collaborations with different people like Spartan and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But what are some of the things that you think that? Because I suppose if you invest all that money like you've done and time and energy into building on a particular platform, creating great content, hiring a team, and then suddenly somebody decides that your face doesn't fit or that they don't want those types of businesses, then everything that you spent years building is gone.
Right.
How do you sort of mitigate that then when you've got a big brand like you have?
Yeah. So that was hard at first because we're like, how can we even grow a TikTok? We don't know if that's going to be controlled. How are we going to grow a Twitter or our YouTube page is all owned by like the same conglomerate, So obviously we're still pushing email list. We're trying to do more events. We're going to be taking advantage of the gym more, and that's why Cyril was here earlier. But now we are actually, I just showed Cyril, we're developing our own app. So that's in the process right now. So then we can an app that acts like social media, but can have our latest drops and our latest exclusive content on there. So it's like an SMS text messaging app too. So it's not just like a regular app where it has a notification. It'll like text you, ping you if we have an offer, and we tailor that towards each customer too, whether they're male, female, what they're into, the history that they have bought from us, and they can accrue points. It's kind of like our own little community, So we're actually developing that right now. I've had a couple meetings last week about just building the foundations of what we want, and then now we're building like the structure of it and how we're going to maneuver that. And then our main, we're going to say, hey, download our app on Instagram. But like I said, that'd be cool, there's marketing tactics on how to go about that. Like, hey, download our app and get a discount if you buy something through our app. So it's proven that way. But we'll just send an email out, and get people to download the app. And then on top of the app, to get the community more involved, is we are starting to get into Web3. So that's like with crypto, NFT, that whole world. So I have a separate business that I started with a partner of mine in Canada during the whole pandemic. And the proof of concept is there. It's good. And that's kind of what I've been doing, like super under the radar, to make sure like everything is good to go before we start really bringing in like Live Fit on full on and like Top Lids and my other brands and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Introducing the next big thing in functional training, the Escape Barrow, a revolutionary training tool that combines a loaded farmer's carry with a sled push to develop hip, grip, and core strength. Developed in partnership with Pete Holman, inventor of the TRX Rip Trainer and Nautilus Glute Drive, the Escape Barrow can be rolled, pushed, dragged, and carried. The Escape Barrow packs a punch with an impressive load capacity of 440 pounds, and with a two-stage galvanized paint covering process, it's also ideal for outdoor use. So head over to escapefitness.com/barrow. That's escapefitness.com/barrow to find out more. Enjoy the rest of this episode.
I sense you're someone, well, you are from what you do, you're always kind of, you seem to be a step ahead of the curve, and you must be very connected with your demographic and what's happening. In terms of what we've just spoke about, social media and things like that, like where do you think that people, if you have to give your view of like the younger demographic, what are they thinking? Where are they going? Like I looked on your website, particularly some of the stuff you're doing in the crypto space, but are they sort of trying to escape? Things like Facebook and Instagram now seem to be very corporate, and they want to get out of that. And if so, where are they going? Would you say?
So that's funny. I didn't read about it too much, but I heard Mark Zuckerberg change, or no, it actually happened. Instagram is the name. You've seen Meta in it, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to start trying to get into, the metaverse, which is like a decentralized place, meaning that there's no ownership of anything. That's the great thing about like the whole crypto world and NFTs, is there is no corporation that owns any of transactions, anything that you sell or whatever, and everything is encrypted. So the trace, the paper trail is there forever, like royalties and all that stuff. So with that being said, like the big corporations can't really fight against that because they don't own anything. They can't go and suppress you for liking this political view or something. Everything is plain open field, how it should be.
Right.
So that's what I think, like where. That's what we're trying to push when we have our like NFT, our Discord. So Discord's another app where it's like a community app.
What is that? I saw you put about Discord. So what's Discord?
It's another app where we can make announcements within the community. So we have like our Okina group, which is the, I want to say NFT marketing agency. And then we have projects underneath that. So we have the Steezy Apes, which are those apes there. And then we have RP Wolves, which are my wolves there. And then we have a couple other projects. But that's where we go and make announcements of new drops, where the community can interact with each other. And if some of the development is there, we can actually, like, it's crazy. Like, I would sound weird. We can meet in the metaverse. If you have your Oculus or whatever, put it on there. Hey, go, we're going to meet in this space here. And then literally be in there, but you're in your house, but you're talking, whatever, it's all there, and it's all real, because there's a lot of hackers in that space. Right. So when you join the Discord, what's, we'll make announcements and stuff to make sure, hey, beware of this, beware of that,
So if you're in the Discord, then is that sort of, can you remain like anonymous, or have you got the same issues like, algorithms with like your Facebook and Instagram, or is it sort of fairly unregulated and
no, it's there's no suppression or no algorithm, because it's more of a place where you go to talk amongst the community.
Okay.
You're not sharing your own content. It's like if you're into this project, I am going to go join that project's Discord with like 1,000 members, and then you go in there and you just talk amongst those people, so you're not really sharing any content.
Right.
Yeah, but then we have like I said, our announcements, special links to the website, don't trust this, drop dates, event dates, so it's kind of like a community calendar board where you can talk,
Right.
Yeah.
So with the metaverse, I saw that on your own website, and maybe because I've been trying to learn a little bit about it. My son sort of spends way too much time on his Oculus, but I can kind of see that his life combines of this reality and another reality where he talks to people live and he's got friends in there and all kinds of stuff. So how would you sort of explain then how would you best sum up like what the metaverse is today and what you've sort of learnt a bit? And I'm talking specifically as it relates to kind of business people and business owners. Mm-hmm. Why is it relevant? Should we be interested? What does it mean for brands?
In like more of a business sense, and like a small business owner, that like the metaverse, when you like buy real estate, it depends on where you're going, like the other side or wherever you're building. Once you purchase that part of the business or the real estate, and then you build on top of that, let's just say, okay, I want to build a LiftFit gym in this area of the metaverse. Okay, so I purchased that with real crypto, so it's dollars, that you're buying. But once you build that, and then you start, let's say, running classes out of that gym, like there is no, like you can literally instead of having it on an internet like Web 2, which is like a .com and that stuff, like that can get shut down. It's owned by like Google most of the time, right? But in the Web 3 space, it's decentralized. So it's not owned by anything. You don't have to go through banks because everything is through crypto. So there's no exchanges, no nothing. Everything is either in whichever blockchain. We use the Ethereum blockchain, which is another crypto, but we don't have to deal with like all these hidden fees, if that makes sense. I'm trying to like make it as simple as possible, but like if we purchase that, we make it and we go directly to our customers.
Right.
You know,
there's no middleman.
No middleman, none at all. You know, and that goes with like any transactions that you do. If they want to buy merch, they want to take a class or do this. You know,
but you're in. But the difference is you're not in the real world. So why, as an example, you mentioned we'll go and build a gym though. But why would you build a gym? Like, because you're not able to work out.
See, that would only work if you're doing Group X classes.
Okay.
Because they can. So now you can buy skins and you can create your own avatar. Say, yeah. So I can make a Randall Pich from head to toe. I'll buy my sneakers, whatever. It's crazy. I'm not that far yet, but there's people that do that even in our community. But you can get all decked out, so when the other person puts on their Oculus and they go meet with you, they see your avatar.
So would you be, so say for example, we're doing like Zumba, I'll use that. We would be moving in our Oculus, but our avatar would be a representation of us in there.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just make sure you're clear of room, you're not hitting no tables or anything, because, you know. But yeah, that's just like a part of, like a small part of that, you know. But there's so much more that goes on in the metaverse space.
So for you guys then, like, would you be, hypothetically in the future, would you be saying, okay, well, look, if you're going to go to Matt's group training class, you know, you would buy a virtual Live Fit T-shirt and shorts. You would go into a shop there and buy that stuff, and you would have to create a digital version to go on your avatar. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And then where we're bridging the gap is, why not send them a real physical one too at the same time?
Okay.
So then that's where, we're kind of just bridging that gap between physical and virtual, you know. But yeah, it's pretty wild.
Like, and how developed, like, is it sort of like, you know, what age group do you think it's going to be kind of like really meaningful where, and I know people are spending a huge amount of money. Like I did another podcast and we were talking about somebody that's bought, Snoop Dogg's got Snoop World and stuff like that going on.
Yeah.
Like when a sort of like, what age group do you think people, it's natural where you're going to buy a bunch of stuff when you do a Live Fit sale in the metaverse, that people are just all going to come and buy a bunch of stuff? Like, what age group is that going to hit?
The young guys are doing it now.
Really?
Like, for sure, yeah.
What sort of age? Are you
12 maybe,
right,
if they're into it, you know? Like these, because I've seen, like my buddies that have kids that are into NFTs and they're already trading or buying certain NFTs and trading them for more and flipping it, and they're teaching them business sense, you know, at the same time. But it just all depends on like the community that you're into, or what you're going to buy into, you know, what they're going to offer. Some NFT projects are just solely based on artwork and stuff, and then other ones like ours are based on artwork plus utility. That's what we call it. Utility is the things that are offered on top of an NFT. So in a sense, the NFT, you want to think of NFT as like a currency, which is crazy because we actually have our own token, which is our own currency too. So to even backtrack more, I know this can go pretty wild, but the cool thing about this whole metaverse space is that, like, let's say like I want to buy something from you across the world, you know, there's going to be an exchange from like a bank or something. They're going to make some money
pounds
on that,
to dollars.
You know? Yeah. So with this, in like the Web3 world, there's absolutely none of that. You know what I'm saying? So with that, you're literally building your own community, and you can make your own currency that lives on that blockchain. So people can literally live in your world, buy your or live in this, let's say this DZ8 Okina land, You can go in there and then literally purchase goods and go free about like, however you want to, whatever you want to do, you know. But it's hard to explain.
Would you? So how would you take like? So I guess at the moment you've got dollars. Would you convert your dollars into your like? I guess you're like you own your own country. It's like you've gone out and like years ago you found some land and now it's like Randall land, and you've got your own. You've come up with a version of the dollar. So would people like trade something, whether it's a regular dollar or something to get that?
Yeah. See, so what we're talking about right now, things are still backed by the U.S. dollar, right?
Yeah.
But in the metaverse, is slowly that U.S. dollar is just it's slowly like people don't care about dollars no more. When people buy like physical things now or whatever in the metaverse, we're trading in or Ethereum or what like Bitcoin. You know, the U.S. dollar is kind of out the door.
Really?
So that's where it, in a sense, it's like a good thing. So it's not really centralized.
Particularly with how it's devaluing at the moment.
You know? So it's like, it's better to have it this way where there's no centralized like government governing the supply chain, you know, because like right now with the dollars, you know, the Federal Reserve, they control everything, you know, but with how the Ethereum is created and stuff like that with staking and like mining with Bitcoins, like that's just released to the world after it's done. And that's how the supply is. And it's like not controlled by any government. So
do you see then, like we set an age around about 11, and maybe it's a bit higher, but that generation coming up then. So as it relates to currency then, because I put that down here, like we've gone from cash, you know, I remember hearing your stories where you're selling T-shirts for cash, and then we kind of went to cards and sort of, you know, like now we've got everything on our phone. But do you think then like younger people are almost like, well, why would I use that type of money? Because I can buy something from you using crypto. I can do a lot more. And do you think that new generation will just move over to using those as currency where they can?
Yeah, and the higher or the corporations are actually adapting to that now. So there's some ATM machines that accept Bitcoin now. Yeah, it's crazy. And then more, I think more merchant services are adapting to that. I know that you can get ATMs. I've looked into like the ATM business, weird. But yeah, there's like ATMs that do cryptocurrency exchanges and stuff. So as long as like that is becoming more dominant, I think in the future, you know, the kids are going to be using that more than dollars, you know, and that stuff is all stored in a secured wallet and it's yours, you know. You don't have to go to a bank to take it out. If you need to send money to this person, you just send it straight there. You don't have to go through a bank, you know. And if you don't have insufficient funds or whatever, you know, or there may be a transaction that's, oh, we detect you for fraud or something. Like there's none of that, you know. It's like you either have it or you don't, and it's all recorded. If you want to say, oh, you didn't pay me, you can look up on the blockchain. Everything is recorded in there.
I guess that's probably why there's a lot of this sort of, you know, pushback against crypto. I suppose the challenge is it's very volatile. So, you know, $100 equivalent today could be anything tomorrow. But I guess if that was to stabilize.
But it makes sense because the world is like a world economy now, right? Well, especially in the virtual world. So why would we have to exchange currencies when I'm just talking to this guy directly right here? Like, hey, like for instance, this is way back before I even got deep into the crypto world. You would play the Diablo World of Warcraft, which is like an online or like a game, a PC game that you play online. And back then, Bitcoin was like a couple cents. So that's how you would buy, I know, crazy, right? That's how you would buy weapons from a dude in Japan. Like, hey, I want to buy your data. Okay, cool. That would be like 2 Bitcoins, you know, or whatever, equivalent to $2 at that time, you know? And we just avoided all these transaction fees from the banks going, you know, like we just avoided that whole thing. And so it makes sense, like in the long term, like we are just a world economy, you know, a global economy, I guess, yeah.
And with the, like, obviously it's, you know, as we speak today, that whole market's crashed compared to what it was. But I guess my feel is, you know, talking to you and seeing things like the metaverse and how people will transact and how efficient it is, you kind of almost think, well, what's the option? You've got these kind of like old paper currencies that are very difficult, and governments, inflation's going through the roof. Your $1 million in the bank is depreciating 10 to 20% every single year, and then you have this. You almost kind of think, well, if you got to bet on some currency, that for your children's generation, it's got to be a good bet.
Yeah, there's a ton of cryptocurrencies out there because of the booming of cryptocurrency itself. So there's obviously people that had created their own. They try to bank off of this and like just kind of like stocks, pump it up. Okay, cool, everybody bet on this and then pull out, whatever. But there are those strong cryptocurrencies that will be here like forever, that are already on the blockchain and doing massive things, you know what I mean? So I don't see those currencies going anywhere and only going up from here as long as the whole world adapts to it,
Why did you choose to Ethereum, or is that still just kind of an experiment and that seemed to be one of the stable sort of cryptocurrencies?
Well, that's where most of the our blockchains are stored, and most of the projects are being held on. And on Web3, like for our OpenSea accounts, everything that we sell is through E. That's just kind of like what my partner introduced me to at first. But there are other ones like Solana and stuff. But Ethereum had just did a merge. I don't really know too much about it, but I know that it might already had merged, but it's going to be as rare as Bitcoin now. So instead of having like big machines like mine it and stuff, like constant coding, there's going to be people that just kind of approve the process of the what do you call it, blockchain transactions or whatever to
validate,
validate,
right.
To make a new E. So that's going to like lower the supply, which drives up the value that way. So I mean, with that play, I don't think it's going anywhere.
No.
And there's just way too much invested into that into Ethereum already in that blockchain. So
yeah, it certainly seems like there definitely seems to be this like a big turning point of people who's probably interested to get rid of it, and then sort of what's emerging. I remember reading a thing about I think it was like Amazon, I think it was Amazon. I remember someone sent me this. Well, it was on the internet, a newspaper clipping about how it was such a terrible idea and it's never going to go anywhere and all this kind of stuff. And I think his stock crashed after it launched. And then obviously now look at what Amazon is. So you have to, I suppose, try and sort of look through these things and sort of, okay, there is a bubble and you can get in too early and you have to be careful. But if you draw a line between now and 10 to 20 years, does that correct? And is it continuing to go in that direction upwards?
Yeah. And that actually just happened. All crypto crashed like a couple months ago. It all just went down, but that just washed out all the fake projects and stuff, at least in like the NFT space, So like we were able to mint out so like a Genesis collection and a generative collection, which is like how many of the NFTs that were going to mint out. So the first one was 444, all sold out, and then we dropped another 4,444 and then sold those out instantly. And and they were trading at like 0.1 or 0.2 E, so it was a good amount.
So on that, because this is a bit I'm trying to figure out. So is this the RP Wolves collection? Is that one of them?
No, so this is the CZ8.
Okay.
Yeah, so the RP Wolves, we're on that one is my own personal one that I'm doing with our company. We're going to be doing 666 Wolves first, which is the Genesis collection. We released 44 and they completely sold out at 0.2 E. So, but during that time, the launch of the 4,444 Steezy was going on, so we put a halt on that to put time and effort into this launch,
right? Which
launched like July 29th, and it's sold out now.
So I can on the table there. I don't know whether we can grab one just to put it on camera, maybe. Can we do that?
Yeah.
So I understand this then. So you've created these and you've printed them on the back of a skateboard for people listening on audio, and they look really cool. So an NFT is the NFT like a piece of artwork that you can put on any? Is that what it is? Or
Yeah. So the NFT is actually like what it stands for, a non-fungible token. So when you buy the NFT from like a project, you are, remember how I said that in the metaverse you own everything? After you purchase this from the seller, you are the sole owner of that particular art piece now. And it's all the data, all of the assets are recorded in that transaction. So you can literally do whatever you want with your specific art piece. So let's say this wolf here, this one was made for my partner Brian, but he can take this specific wolf, and essentially create a whole brand out of it. He can create, whatever out of this specific wolf. You know what I'm saying?
So he could do T-shirts. He could,
as he pleases,
do wall graphics, and he could he then sell. So if say for example he created T-shirts, could he then sell those T-shirts because he now owns that? Is that how that? Right.
Yep.
Okay.
So all of those are his.
Right.
Yep. And the cool thing about the NFT too, let's say he decides to sell that specific NFT, depending, they normally sell for more if it's a good project. He'll sell that, and then the artist and owners get to kick back every time, like a percentage. So it's all recorded,
Right.
But then now he's rightfully the owner of that.
Yeah. So if I buy it and then I'm going to sell it to Scott, for example, when that's sold, you'll get a kickback on every time it gets sold, and it's traceable. So
Yep. You can see the last transaction, how much it was sold for, so you know the history value and everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool.
So outside of like the art, then what are other things that you can see the NFTs? Because it sounds like a really cool idea. Particularly, I suppose like for me, I compare it to like a trademark. So like your Live Fit trademark, if you ever wanted to sell that, and so like there'd be a lot of value to the brand itself, and because you'd have registered that, and the visual and everything, and then other people can buy it. So what other things then are you able to create NFTs with outside of like a sort of a visual logo piece of art then at the moment?
Yeah, and that's the cool thing about like the projects where I'm getting involved in with, because I have already established brands, so I can actually utilize the holders of the NFTs and give them VIP access to my Live Fit store if they wanted to, or Top Threads, or they can just get exclusive merch, or a kickback, like a free shirt that we just randomly would drop, like, hey, all holders will get this. So that's like kind of like all the perks that we would say prior to launching the projects, like, hey, these, like with the wolves, what we're going to be doing with the wolves, if you are a holder of a wolf, you have access to Skylab. You could print out your canvas or whatever at a super discounted price. You can shop exclusively with like VIP access on livefitapparel.com, topthreadsinc.com, and whoever like we choose that would work with us in that way. And then how I said, how we made like our own token. Let's say, okay, let's say the holder is not just a holder of one NFT, but 2 or 3 NFTs. So they're racking up tokens like points. So if they don't choose to use it to buy whatever this deck or use the utility that we offer, they can just rack it up, save, and then mint out another NFT, and that's a value. And they can either choose to sell that for 0.2E or,
What does it mean, mint? When you mint?
Sorry, yeah, minting, like create a new NFT. So they have a chance to purchase a new NFT.
Right.
Because we're depending if they're not sold out, there's some that are always like trading in circulation, So
say for example, like Randall designed a new T-shirt design where it kind of had like one sleeve and it was a unique design. Like could that go beyond art into actual like like templates for sort of clothing wear or something like that? Like you had a particular style of short or something. Could if you used it in business outside of like what consumers use it, could you see that being where that NFT technology could go as well, do you think?
Yeah, I think so, especially for on the avatar side.
Right.
Where because there's not just like the 2D type of NFTs. There's the full-on 3D renders avatar NFTs, you know, from like top to bottom. And you can choose what they're wearing, and then you can actually break down the assets of the NFT. Like if he's wearing a pair of Live Fit shorts, you can just sell those shorts too if you want, and exchange those out.
So say, because one of the things I was thinking about, you know, like business. So say for example, these trainers were designed, and it's a pretty unique design, and then there was another company, like, you know, that was in the sort of, you know, apparel or sportswear. Like, do you think that if you could do a 3D shoe, and then they would own, well, not necessarily own, but own the rights to recreate? You know, you've got all of the technical drawings.
I think they're already doing that.
Are they doing it?
Yeah, I think they're already doing that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that arguably could apply to even patents. Like if this table was sort of, you could create an NFT out of a table and arguably sell that to a manufacturer. And then I guess the only thing is how would you track how many tables are sold? Because they're in the physical world, I suppose, as opposed to the digital world.
Yeah, so it has to make sense in the digital first, you know?
Yeah.
So
I could imagine, though, I suppose the concept is probably, like, if it could work, I'm sure there's probably ways of creating its authenticity, you know, like you do on maybe like when they make a certain amount of cars or whatever. I'm sure there's some way that you could say, well, look, you know, scan this and check its authenticity. But I guess, you know, it changes things like IP protection and you know, how to quickly transfer rights and buy and sell companies and all kinds of things, doesn't it? You know, that philosophy.
Yep. Because there's like even like the .coms, like the .ios, you know, people are selling those.
What's an I like a website?
Yeah, so instead of like having .com, people are just using .io, and those are like on the Web3 space. So you have to have like a third-party app to get into that the Web3, like a MetaMask.
Okay.
So
what's a yeah? I saw that you put a MetaMask on your. So what's a MetaMask then?
So that's our platform that's the platform I use to go on to OpenSea. So OpenSea is OpenSea.io, and that's the platform we use that we list our NFTs on. You know, so in order to even be able to go to an OpenSea, you have to have a MetaMask. You know, because that MetaMask is linked directly to your crypto wallet.
Right.
So the transaction is just smooth that way. Yeah, because you can't just go and buy an NFT if you're on like a .com or something. There's no way. Yeah.
You can't.
No. You have
so
to
is there like Google and people like that in this Web3 world?
No,
then? There's not.
No, none.
Right.
Yeah. So that's where it's like free for all. You know, decentralized. Everybody's like, you know, the owner of their own assets. But then again, that poses a high risk for scams and stuff, you know. But then you just got to watch out for that.
And how do you think then? So that Web3 then, do you see that is because a lot of people talk about it, and I kind of a little bit understand it, but do you think that's where a lot of commerce in general will go into this sort of web? You know, do you think a lot of what happens in this Web2 will eventually? Be there.
Yeah, it's there. Like even like big brands right now, if you go on their website, like Gucci, you just scroll all the way to the bottom, and it says like Gucci Metaverse something. Like they're already in it, but they're just kind of waiting. Like every big brand has secured their space in the Metaverse, but they're not making that announcement until like the world's ready for it. But seeing that they are already securing that space says a lot, right?
So how do you know? Because and you're probably fairly unique because it's a passion that you have the ability to get involved with, and you understand it as opposed to me and probably many other businesses. But for people who are not, you know, got the knowledge, courage, connections to sort of dive in, and they probably have to go to like an agency or someone to help them. Like when do you think is the right time to start? You know, if you've got an apparel business or a sports business or a fitness business or anything like that, when do you think is the right time for them to start, you know, making some strides to get into that space, and where would you recommend starting?
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, before putting the business on the line or jumping the business into the crypto, you as an individual should just go and like create your own crypto wallet and accounts and kind of just go into the space and see what's going on. I mean, YouTube's got a ton of videos on that stuff, you know, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's like it's a lot to take in at first. It is so foreign because I've sat down with peeps and I could tell, you know, they're looking at me like, dude, I'm from another planet right now, you know. So I just kind of like back off, but you kind of just got to dive into it to yourself because like each different crypto is like its own little world too, you know. So it depends on what you're trying to get into. Like with the NFT space, with the biggest projects like Bored Ape and stuff, they're all on like the Ethereum blockchain. So okay, let's go ahead and just dive into what Ethereum's all about. You know,
right.
How much is it worth? What's the trend? How much has it grown since like for 5 years ago, 10 years ago? Whereas just, you know, what does the future hold for it? What brands are already currently working within that space? But yeah, I mean, if I were to give some pointers or advice, I would tell people like Ethereum is probably the future of cryptocurrency. It's going to be up there with Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin's good, you know, but Ethereum's like the next one.
Do you invest in those currencies as well? Like, do you hold those?
Yeah. So this is like super like under the radar too. I've been into Bitcoin 10 plus years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So first time.
So you got your retirement taken care of then?
Well, yes and no. Because like the first time Bitcoin was like $60 and I was just like, yo, this is the next thing, you know, because this is like from playing video games, and everyone thought I was crazy. So I was like, oh, all right, whatever. Next thing you know, you go to lunch. It was like Sarah, Omar, and Mike. I was like, yo, hey, Bitcoin's at $400. Hey, we should get it. They're like, nah, you're dumb, dude. No. The next thing you know, it was like $1,000. So all of us racked up on some Bitcoin. So, and then it jumped up to like $1,500. And then this was like 6 years ago, and it kind of went down. So that's when I sold everything, and but luckily, I had just left one in there. I always do this, and yeah, that one grew to what it is now, and then I just used that profit to, you know, invest into the other cryptos.
Yeah,
and I've been able to make like some good flips, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got some, you know, some crypto stored away. It was hard though because I was locked out of my Coinbase with my wallet, and the security, like I was telling you, it was so hard to get in. Dude, I was locked out for 2 years. I couldn't figure out how to get in now, so I kind of gave up until finally I just was adamant about getting it. So
it's
like,
Coinbase. I've got used that, and I again, some people say we should take it off and put it into, I don't know what they say, cold storage or something like that. But is Coinbase like meant to be a pretty decent?
Yeah, for like investing, like trading. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
and keeping it in there as well, is it? Or
I mean, I just keep mine in there. I don't see Coinbase going anywhere because the other private decentralized like platforms, to me, because I'm so used to, let's say if it does get hacked or whatever, you know, I want someone to kind of like be there and
fall back from.
Yeah. You know, even though like that's not like the point of it, but yeah, like I still have my Coinbase, and I have my Coinbase wallet, and then I have like a couple other wallets that are like just super high or unsecured, you know, like that I just keep. But depending on what I do, you know, because I have it for the NFT projects, I have it for investing, and then other high risk investments. Yeah.
So how do you see? You mentioned gaming, and that's sort of an interesting one because a lot of what happens in Oculus is, you know, there's games, you know, predominantly games. Like how is that evolving? Because, you know, now you've got things like esports, which is huge. I didn't realize how much some of these kids get actually paid.
Dude, it's wild. That just goes to show the public, like, well, yeah, this thing, it has been there. We just weren't exposed to it. That's,
right.
Yeah, the money is crazy. I had a buddy of mine, his little brother was a pro Counter-Strike gamer. Like 5 years ago, he was getting paid like $300,000 a year. I was like, yo. And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole nother world. Wild.
So with the gaming then, like, do you see that as a component? Because I suppose within gaming you've got sponsorships and you've got avatars, and then you've got, you know, people wearing stuff to these events. Like, do you see kind of the gaming and then even like the music kind of all of this sort of converging, and then I suppose some sort of social aspect as well, which will maybe replace. Like, is that kind of how you see things coming together?
Yeah, for sure, definitely, and it's unregulated, which is like the cool part. You know, it's just unregulated. It's just you and the community doing your own thing, and no one's like, I could guess, like no government, you know, bothering you or suppressing you or anything like that. You know, it's just, it's a real free social thing. You know, especially with the gaming, with like the PC world, when you're playing with people all across the world, you know, it's just you and those guys, nothing really in between, you know?
Yeah.
You know, so, and then like a lot of those games consist of weapons or things that require currency to get involved. If you want to upgrade your level or whatever you want, you know, you can do that. You just buy it straight up, like I was talking about earlier, you know? You don't have to go through a bank or nothing. It's just, yeah.
And what about the music side of things? I know that's another one of your sort of passions. Like, where or have you seen how that is sort of, you know, getting involved? Because I guess the music industry kind of lost its way with, you know, pirating of music. You know, it's so easy to copy, download, share. It's almost like if you're an artist, you're pretty screwed. So do you think that now with what's happening here, this sort of, you know, is better for musicians now?
Yeah, I would say so, because the royalty gets kicked back all the time and the record label doesn't own it. It's the musician itself that owns it. So if his music gets played, whatever, in streams or it gets bought, you can see the paper trail that he's still getting the royalties for it. There's no middleman or no like Sony Productions or nothing, you know, if he produced it, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's a lot more fair, you know.
I guess it's just the distribution that the Sony, I suppose, could do at a price. It's then, you know, how, I suppose, different ways of actually getting your music out there, more unconventional ways, I suppose.
Like what, like vinyls and discs and stuff, or what?
Well, I guess, you know, if so, say for example, you're an artist, you went to Sony, and then they would, like, you know, if it was the right type of artist, they would blast you, and, you know, they would do your marketing for you and get your name out there. I suppose if you don't have those, then, you know, you've got to find other ways of marketing yourself.
Mm-hmm. But we've already seen that in like our regular Web 2 space, right? A lot of these big corporations are not even going for, they're trying to find people that had marketed themselves already. Not necessarily the talent, though. They just know, hey, these guys are going to sell this show out. Let's sign these guys regardless, because they're bringing the market already. So, and that's just with our regular social media we have now, you know, like imagine with Web3 full blown, like people they can literally make it, you know, so.
And I remember when we spoke about this last time, and I remember hearing you talk about it previously, and it's interesting to raise it again, because I suppose years ago, whether it's music, whether it's you know, clothing, footwear, anything, the model was very much about okay, you would you'd be an inventor, a creator. You would then go to maybe an agent that would find you a distribution partner, and so the agent would take a cut. So you'd have a small cut as a creator. The agent would have a medium cut as the sort of middleman, with the connections to the distribution side that would have the biggest cut, and then you would sort of buy from their network. So there's normally a bunch of levels in everything, and I suppose the people at the front would be partly responsible for promoting it. When I spoke to you last time, you was almost like, okay, well, you know, you'll get people to come directly to you, and a lot of the conversation we've had today is about same sort of thing. It's peer-to-peer. There's no middleman within that situation. Mm-hmm. So the younger consumer, you know, who do they look for in terms of a brand? You know, are they looking? Are they sort of almost like turned off from the big corporations in some respects? Even though I suppose Amazon is the ultimate. Amazon, Apple are the ultimate in that. But how do you see that? almost like, culturally, and the mindset of some of these younger people? Are they generally looking for companies like yourselves and a lot of the people I see that you have collaborations with, and almost like sort of getting a little bit turned off and, sort of disillusioned by some of these big brands? How do you see that?
That's a good point, because I do feel that this type of world that we're living in right now, currently, it's breeding a lot of entitled people to where they don't think they have to work hard. But regardless, if you're dealing with like heavy distribution of like either physical goods or even in the metaverse, there's going to be a lot of logistic issues that go on there within people. So you still have to have the management skills, the leadership skills, and that's something that will never go away, regardless of if you're just a one-man army in the metaverse. Like, you still have to have another dude in the metaverse to help you, work your business out and stuff. So that's always going to be there. And I don't think these young kids know that, no, I got this YouTube channel, I was like, yeah, dude, but once you get really big, dude, like, you got to have some type of management to manage your videos and manage your music, whatever you're creating, whatever, just like you said, to get it out to the people. There are levels to that. And that, I don't think that's going to go away, whether it's in Web3, Web2, whatever, like, the hard work and scaling part is always going to be there. Yeah, and they need to push that more, because there's some kids out there now that's just like, hey, let me get this, let me get, like, yo, you haven't proved nothing yet. You know what I'm saying? It's just, the whole hard work and grit stuff, that's never going to go away. And I don't see that, even in like the development part of Web3 too. Like, you don't just go and like create these like pieces and stuff. That all these are like hand drawn. Like, we have to do that first, and then how are we going to upload this? Setting the date. What's going to come with this utility? There's always business sides to it. So it's not as easy as these kids do think. But starting young, when you have like no risk, it's good, because you can just fall back and like, oh, I learned this, learned that, and then by the time you're 18, which is crazy, you have all this knowledge, and then you're ready to go full on. You kind of know how to maneuver within the space. That's kind of how like I was when I was in clothing. I was able to fail because I started when I was 14 years old. So I was like, okay, let me do this. Let me not do this anymore. So okay, now that I'm on my own, I know exactly where to maneuver. I know where to go to find, distribution, wholesale, all that stuff. So regardless, you're gonna need.
You'll need the infrastructure, but do you think that you would, how you you communicate, like it's, you're there involved in everything. It is a very personal brand to you, as opposed to kind of like, just the name of a company, Live Fit. There's a human side of what you do. Yeah. And there's, the people that you collaborate, and there's a story and with your event. So do you think that from a marketing perspective that is still important from a trust perspective, and not just the human element, but also, some of the values that these people stand for?
100%. Whoever still represents the company is like the face and can make it or break it for a company. If you put the wrong person and they say something completely, dumb in public, that can ruin your whole business. Especially nowadays, things spread like wildfire. So that aspect, it's still very important to have good, honest people and good representation from the people that rep your brand, a good team. People are always going to be like the forefront. Even if they have like NFT holders, they put this on their profile pic and stuff, but even that will build a reputation. Like, oh, this person is like a sniper. He'll wait until like right before you bid and bid right over you. There's always a reputation that travels, regardless of what you are on like on the internet and stuff. So I don't think that's going away as far as what corporations are going to do to go after people for marketing. It's always going to be there. I think good people.
It does seem more difficult, particularly like you've got a lot of athletes, and you have people like Nike and that, they have hundreds of these. With the world being so divided, and it seems as though it's accelerated through the pandemic. Last 3 or 4 years, it seems to be even worse. Like, you're almost like, well, who am I with? Am I this? Am I that? It seems to be almost like be very difficult sometimes you feel as though you're better off just saying nothing because you're going to piss somebody off.
That's how I was for a long time, and I was like living in this hole. Like I was like, I haven't even made this public much, but I separated my shoulder snowboarding. Nothing cool. I just slipped on ice. That's why I never posted about it. But, so I was just in my sling at home with my collarbone out. No surgery, nothing. Didn't needed it, but I was just in dude. Started watching videos about like political issues and stuff like that, and I was like, yo, man, this world is getting pretty crazy, you know. But and I was trying to see what companies are doing now with like algorithms or during the riots and stuff too. Like, what was this company doing or what was that? You know, it was just a lot to really see. But
because there was also, I think I was in your previous place having a chat about this, because there's also pressure to make a statement, you know. So it's, and I don't want to go into like
right.
some of those things, but it was almost like, well, if you don't do it, you kind of you're not good. But if you say the wrong thing, it's a problem. And
I'm at that point now where it's like, I think a lot of the people are just over it. So just do what you like, do your business, and then it's all good, you know. And people like it like that way, you know. Like I started like Live Fit because I like fitness and I like clothes, and I'm gonna stick with that, you know.
Just keep
like if you want to learn anything else, I'm not gonna tell you. You don't need to know, you know. This is not, it's not for you to share, you know. But
I have a friend who said, he asked me any questions apart from religion and politics. He says we can talk about anything else.
Yeah. You know, and that's the thing. Like with fitness and stuff, it's all universal. Yeah. You know, there's not like, I don't care what your views are, what religion you believe in, you know. But it's just sad to see some people really let someone's view that does not affect them at all really dictate their relationship that they've had prior for years. You know, I've seen people cut people off. I'm like, dude, why? This person's a good person to you, you know? Oh, because he believes. I'm like, okay, yeah, well, you know, people are really easy to manipulate nowadays, you know? So, and that's scary. And that's all due to media and stuff, you know? And that's why I think the future of Web3 is good, because it's all decentralized. Not going to be any main like networks that control or whatever, you know. Like whatever happens. The news is the news, you know. People tell it how it is. So yeah.
And I think you're right. Like something like fitness, it's one of those things that does actually bring people together. You know, we all need it. It's one thing that we've all got in common on some level. You know, there's no, okay, you could argue about whether you do a curl in a particular way, but in general, you know, it's a positive thing that we all share. One of the things I was going to, you know, as we sort of wrap up here, it's a question I've been asked and think about a lot, and I wanted to get your thoughts in terms of resources. And, you know, if in your state as a business owner at the moment, if money wasn't an issue and you could take your business anywhere to the heights that maybe you dream of taking it, if that's the case, like what would be the key hires and investments that you would make in the world today? You know, specifically if it was to take your business beyond, you know, where it is at the moment.
You know, it's crazy. I actually just talked about this with like Miranda, Cyril, a couple of my athletes, like this stress and all this stuff. Like when I got into fitness, so I was a personal trainer at first. And when I was a personal trainer, I got gratitude from people like that were in my face. And then now I spent years behind the desk, and it's just like fake people or just comments like that. I don't know who these people are. If the gratitude is not there, you know. And I tell everyone, if I didn't have Live Fit Apparel, I would still have my RP Fitness Live Fit, you know. And I would be training, because when we ran a couple of those boot camps that we did here, you could ask anybody. I lit up. Like my trainer aspect, like, or character came out, and I was like that leader, like, all right, guys, yeah, we're gonna do this. Let's do it, you know, because naturally that's how I am, and I like to get down and dirty. I like to do physical things. I like to rock climb. I like to go outdoors, and that's what I used to do with my PT clients back then. Like some of my groups, we'd go on a trip I provide all the foods and stuff. We go out to, I don't know, like the river or something. We do activities, and it's just like we're all having fun and we're changing people's lives. And that's the goal, you know what I'm saying? And if I didn't have Lift It, like, and I could take my business and do what makes me happy, like legitimately, I would be, I don't know, a trainer guru and like be training like peeps that want to travel the world with me, and just take fitness to a whole new level. Take fitness, not just in the gym, but like I want people to experience like the world, like what else is out there, not just the city, not just the local mountains, but like, hey, let's go to the cave in Vietnam and let's do this 1 week hiking trail, guaranteed to lose weight. You see what I'm saying? But stuff like that, I've been on like that kind of like tip lately. I've just obviously now.
Well, I've seen your Instagram page where you've gone climbing. You do a bunch of fun stuff. It looks, maybe you should sell those tickets as part of your NFTs.
Hey, there you go. Exactly.
Come on a trip with Randall. You don't know where you're going until you just turn up here. It's like 5 days.
Everybody put on your Oculus. But yeah, like I realize all that stuff too now that, last time we spoke, I didn't even have my kid yet.
No.
Yeah, she's 3 now, Reese, and it's just different. I'm like, I wanted to take her to do badass things. Like I'd take her on hikes by myself. Like Sarah doesn't want to go, so I'll just put on my little baby harness. We'll just go because I just want her to experience things, because there's just so much more. I sound so old. But, like being stuck behind a computer, I don't like her seeing me do that all the time, because she's a COVID baby. She grew up during that time and it sucked. Like where I was like always in here in a bad mood, just like stressed out. Like, what are we going to do? So like, that's where I want to take like the business, and then clothing is a cool part of it. We can gear up for that. But like we actually are going to start doing that. First, we're going to establish the boot camp, get that up and running, and then from there, semi-privates, and then we're going to offer those trips, that we're going to do. But yeah, like I'm not chasing the. It's funny, like the money or like that type of scale anymore. But it's going to come if you just do what you
focus
like.
On your passion.
Yeah, exactly, dude. Like. Yeah.
And you're someone who definitely, it comes out. The good, your work, and whenever I walk around there, I'm always inspired, and it's a great place to work. And your sort of, your gift comes out in a lot of stuff. So it must be nice to be able to do that. So it doesn't seem as though you're that far away from being there.
No, and it's wild because like when we did that training thing, everybody saw it. It was like, damn, we didn't even know you had that. I was like, damn, dude, and I miss it. Like. That's
a cool little space. So you're going to recreate that now here, are you?
Yeah. So that's what Cyril's down here for.
Okay. I'll have to send Wendy down and we'll get some kit. We've got a bunch of kit.
Yeah.
So we'll have to get some new toys in here.
Dude, that'd be awesome. It'd be perfect.
So my last question then, over the last, really since over the last 3 years on the pandemic, and I asked a similar question last time, but escaping your limits is about escaping what you've believed is impossible and gone on to make it possible. What would you say is a memorable example of escaping your personal limits over the last sort of 2 or 3 years?
Escaping my personal limits. Just digging out of that depression hole that I had with my broken shoulder. I was just like, dude, what am I going to do? But I can't I have a kid. There's just absolutely no way, I just had to get through it. So whatever I had to do to find motivation again, I had to do it. It sucked going through rehab. It sucked seeing my body just not be at top tier shape, but just thinking about like the end goal and like, this is only temporary, yeah, you just gotta get out and just do it. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you certainly managed to kind of occupy yourself over that period. So, well, look, thank you very much. Looking forward to sort of watching this space. I've been very educated on it, and I have to find out how to put escape into the metaverse at some point.
Yeah, hopefully, because I'm still and with all that being said, me talking about the metaverse, I'm still learning every single day about it. You know, I let my partner run more of that the space side of it, and I run more of like the logistic and physical side. So, like I said, I'm learning as I'm going too. You know, so yeah.
Exciting times ahead.
Yep.
Thank you, Randall.
Yeah,
Appreciate
sure.
your time.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, then please go over to iTunes and subscribe to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Leave a review, leave a comment. It really would help us a lot to continue to keep these going.